Hawaii Claus by W.M. Cuppernell. Santa returned from his world trip and threw down his empty sack, telling Mrs. Claus it was time to pack. He said, "We're ditching this place and headed to someplace warm." Mrs. Claus could tell the snow and ice had earned his scorn. "What should I pack?" she asked. "Oh, just pack light. I want to get going before the next snowfall is in sight." Santa wanted to just kick back. He figured after hundreds of years he deserved some slack. He told all the elves to take the month off to rest and watch over the reindeer in the North Pole nest. Packing suntan lotion, swim trunks, and a Hawaiian shirt, he told his wife when they landed he would buy her a hula skirt. Only Speedy the reindeer would be needed for this flight. Santa could not wait to take to the air, and the North Pole would be out of sight. He brought extra sunblock to put on Speedy's furry coat, and fishing poles for a fishing boat. The sleigh was readied, Speedy was hitched, and the elves looked on as if they were ditched. Only one elf would be needed for the trip, to relax on the beach or to take a dip. This elf was also needed for Speedy's care and to drive the sleigh when it took to the air. Only the best elf would receive this honor, and the rest would stay home with the reindeer from Rudolph to Donner. The elves gathered around to hear the name, for the one elf would be on the beach instead of Santa Claus Lane. All were nervous in anticipation, thrilled at the chance of a tropical vacation. When Santa called the name, the elves all let out a boo. But the elf was the best. They knew it was true. Kirby Apple was surprised himself, but no one could deny he was a top-shelf elf. Everyone going needed to be in disguise and not be recognized by their clothes or their size. Santa had a false name that he would have to pick. He could never check in as Old Saint Nick. Speedy would have to pass as a large dog, Kirby the elf as a child with a voice like a frog. Santa picked out the name Mr. and Mrs. Jones on holiday, a couple trying to just get away. Heading over the Pacific to Waikiki, sailing high above the sea, Mrs. Claus cooed with delight, gazing with wonder when Hawaii came into sight. Santa landed his sleigh and jumped out in shorts, the sleigh hidden away for the nosy sorts. While they were checking into a beachfront hotel, the clerk was almost overcome by the cookie smell. Securing 2 rooms away from all the other guests, all were happy with their beachside rest. Donning swimming trunks decorated with Christmas ornament balls, he planned to see everything and take no calls. His surfboard was decorated with Christmas snowflakes, and he could not wait for the sun to bake. Sporting a long white beard, an ample tummy, and a tank top that said, "Poi is yummy." Instead of a stocking cap, he wore a straw hat as he laid down his towel for a long winter's nap. Mrs. Claus, dressed finely in a flowered dress, plopped down next to Santa. "This is heaven," she did confess. Kirby and Speedy headed down to the water to play, and the two had a super fun day. Santa woke up almost beet red, so sunburned he was full of dread. Mrs. Claus sprayed him with pixie dust, and his burn went away. She said, "See, Santa, sunblock is a must." Looking out to the water at Kirby the elf, Santa laughed when he saw him despite himself. Kirby sailed across the water on Speedy's back, pretending they were submarines on the attack. Santa let out a whistle to call him to shore, It was time for lunch before playing some more. To his surprise, Speedy with Kirby took to the sky, noticed by everyone on the beach and those passing by. Shocked, Santa had to freeze everything and turn back time. Like in a movie, he hit rewind. Kirby and Speedy were now on land, safely landing on the sand. Santa reminded the two no more flying, and that Speedy was supposed to be a dog and to start trying. Off to lunch, they ate a tasty Hawaiian dish, from roasted pork to island fish. Pleased, Santa patted his tummy and knew it was time to explore. Turning to Mrs. Claus, he said, "Let's go, Mommy." Taking to the air with a party of 3, Speedy led them all happily, flying around the islands, visiting waterfalls, swimming in the water, away from it all. At the luau, Santa was made to dance, having fun at every chance. When children spotted the man, they would just stare. There was something about this old man, they were all aware. When Santa Claus saw this, he smiled and said, "Make sure you're nice all year, and on Christmas Eve, stay in bed." The kids seemed to see through his disguise, the adults unbelieving and did not recognize. Santa told the kids to keep his secret to themselves and promised something special at Christmas made by the elves. All the kids promised, but still they followed Santa all around. They could not help it knowing that Santa Claus was in town. From his morning walk or laying on the beach, wherever he went, hundreds of kids were within reach. Getting snow cones, called shaved ice, Santa bought one for all the kids and couldn't have been more nice. The adults took notice and became suspicious, especially from this man's cookie smell, which smelled delicious. They wondered why the kids would follow this man all around town, and why this man was always happy and never down. One man wondered out loud, "Could the man be St. Nick?" The rest of the crowd looked at the man as if the man had fallen sick. Santa Claus did not mind, he loved the kids, but if the adults found out, they would lose their lids. The hotel was swamped with messages for Mr. and Mrs. Jones, and news reports that this was a Santa Claus clone. Santa Claus just laughed off the questions. When those asked if he was Santa, he laughed and said, "Oh, what a suggestion! Santa Claus lives at the North Pole. But quit asking, or next Christmas you could get a lump of coal." Santa Claus knew his trip was coming to an end. When it would depend. Taking surfing lessons, he forgot his board was coated with magic dust. When the wave came, into the sky it did thrust. Sailing over the beach on his surfboard with a smile like a kid, he realized the fact he was Santa Claus could not be hid. After weeks in Hawaii, he knew it was time to say goodbye, head home, and take to the sky. He told Kirby and Speedy that it had been real, but tonight they were leaving. That was the deal. Checking out of the hotel, it was time to go back to making toys for all the good children, the girls and the boys. Hitching up Speedy, loading Mrs. Claus' souvenirs, telling the children not to cry any tears. Facing north, Mrs. Claus and Kirby firmly in tow, he prepared to go from 80 degrees to 10 below. Taking off, Speedy headed towards the North Star. He traveled fast, and it did not seem far. Gifts were overflowing from the sleigh for all the reindeer and elves to get today. Heading down, guided by the northern lights, Santa Claus Village was now in sight. All the elves and reindeer celebrated their return. All were given gifts and noticed Santa's sunburn. Work began again at Santa's shop. Every hour, hundreds more toys would drop. Mrs. Claus found Santa looking at a map. Scratching his head, he removed his cap. When asked, Santa said he was planning next year's vacation, after the holiday and traveling to every nation. Santa promised a new place every year, but it had to be warm and sunny. That was clear. So if you see an old man who looks like Santa Claus, with a cookie smell, please hold the applause. Just remember, it just might be Santa on holiday. Keep his secret. Don't give it away. Everyone needs a break sometimes just because. But never forget the story of Hawaii Claus. The end.